how do we create the biggest possible tiny house that we can build? Because we didn't want to live small necessarily. We wanted to live creatively and cheaply. So our house expands and contracts. The ship's wheel is functional. When I turn the ship's wheel.
So our ladder moves and attaches to both sides. We can get up to both of our loft spaces using the same ladder. We could theoretically swing down like Tarzan, although that we have never done that before. The whole ceiling took probably like 4 or 5 months to do on and off. It was a lot. I think I got like nerve damage on my thumb from painting it because it's all hand painted.
Details add a sense of space if they're not overwhelming.
I think some people would
disagree.
would call this overwhelming.
Will you join me? Will you roll? Make this house our tiny home.
Hi, I'm Chloe.
I'm Brandon.
This is our tiny house on wheels. Come on in for a tour. Before we chose to live in a tiny house, we really wanted to be able to live more creatively and have more financial freedom and independence.
While I was working, I was always thinking, man, I just want to make stuff. I want to make so many things, and how do we have more time to make things? I think that the tiny house came as an opportunity to find a alternative lifestyle with maybe a cheaper way of living and less commitment to living in one place, but also just a great opportunity to express our creativity.
When we knew that we wanted to build a tiny house, the inspirations for the design were sort of piecemeal, but the original inspiration was like a Tudor-style cottage.
I loved the idea of that classic fairy tale cottage with the steep roof and the timber frame, but I was dealing with road restrictions and spatial restrictions, and that really steep house is great for snow and water runoff, but it doesn't give you a lot of space within. So I was kind of scratching my head like, what's the perfect roof structure to give us runoff and also space? And I was looking on Pinterest at the time, and I came upon a picture of an old steamer trunk, and it had like, the rounded top and the canted insides and the buckles and all that stuff, and it was really beautiful. I thought, like, there's something to this. So from there, it was, how do we create the biggest possible tiny house that we can build? Because we didn't want to live small necessarily. We wanted to live creatively and cheaply. And so right away, I started thinking about expanding the spaces. So our house expands and contracts, so when it's traveling, it's so folded up that it's almost inaccessible. Like, you open up that door and everything is just folded in on itself. You really can't use it at all. It's basically 13 feet 3 inches tall when we travel, and then it grows another 2.5 feet, and it's 8.5 feet wide on the trailer, and then that grows, another 3.5 feet out on either side. So we're like close to, I think, 14 feet wide when we're parked.
We have been living in the tiny house for 10 years. We started building it in the winter, like late winter 2014. It took us like about 9 months to build the actual structure of the house, and then we moved in late 2016. We always joke that we called it a wooden tent when we moved in because there was no plumbing, no electricity, no shelving. Like, it was literally just an empty shell.
And it never looked so small. We've learned over the years living in here just how to maximize the sense of space, and by doing that, we figured out that basically details add a sense of space if they're not overwhelming.
I think some people would
disagree.
would call this overwhelming.
But it's a lot to fit in a small space. But it's amazing how much bigger it looks with all this stuff in it than it does when it's empty. And what you see is just 10 years of sequential decision making, one after another.
How much does the tiny house cost is sort of up for debate between the two of us. We have a pretty good understanding. It's about $45,000 in materials, plus probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in time and labor and effort and design. Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's priceless. Like, it's a priceless piece of art, and it's not able to be entirely replicated because of just all the unique pieces that it has in it. because we have been able to salvage so much, it's been relatively cheap.
I think the best place to start with our trailer is our first film set that we ever worked on together, our first like feature film set. She was hired for the production design, and then once she was hired for the production design, the question was, who are they going to get to build the set? And she's like, oh, my boyfriend can do it. And so they hired me without knowing anything about my skill set, which wasn't sufficient. And I attempted to build a film set for the first time ever, which I didn't know how to do it. I built it like I thought houses were built, which was with 2x4s and sheetrock. And at the end of the film, we had a big pile of 2x4s and sheetrock. And we weren't able to salvage the sheetrock, but the 2x4s have become our house. We got them all for free, 700 plus 2x4s. And they essentially became the frame of the whole house. So what I did was I glued and screwed the 2x4s together to make larger beams, and then I kind of planed them down to make them look like they were one beam. That's the frame. It's built on a car hauling trailer. You can still see where the ramps would slide out to pull a car up on this trailer, which I got on Craigslist for $1,000. Moving on from there, this is our storm door that we built from scratch because we wanted a door to basically put glass in and insulate in the wintertime, but also to remove the glass and put a screen door in for the summertime so that we can let the warm air in or the cool air in at night without the bugs. Chloe and I worked on the drawing together, and then I got a subscription to the Makerspace downtown, and I went down to the Makerspace and drew it all on there and cut it out with a plasma cutter. But this is our original door that Chloe got from a flea market for 20 bucks that we kind of repieced together a little bit and added on, you know, these corner pieces for strength, this cool little lion to bring in that Beauty and the Beast spooky vibe. We got this chandelier that was made in New Orleans, brought up here apparently by a couple of witches, according to the guy that was selling it to us. But yeah, I added the glass in there to protect the lights so they don't get wet. Really cool piece, all handmade. We've got windows that we salvaged, old windows for what was like $100 for 14 windows or something. We have 14 windows on the upper section, so we get tremendous natural light. The next big question to ask is, what's the ship's wheel? The ship's wheel is functional. When I turn the ship's wheel, it basically gathers the rope and then actuates these block and tackle pulley sets that lift up the whole roof like you would a table by its feet. These pipes connect to the roof and they go up as it's hoisted and gathered. And then once the roof is up, window walls come out like the lid of a cardboard box, and then the roof is rested down onto it and it's all bolted in place. This whole setup here is for support and ease of operation. This is a garage door spring that's attached to a pulley in the rope here, and that basically is a lift assist when we're folding the floor up for travel. Otherwise, it's pretty heavy. And then when it comes down, it's caught on this cable that has these adjustable turnbuckles, so we can lower the floor a little bit, move the walls out into place, get them just right, and then we turn the turnbuckle and everything tightens together. And then we use this hardware to bolt our walls together. We have our support legs here, which also fold into place. And then a couple of years back, we upgraded to French doors. We used to have windows just up high, but we thought the French doors would be a nice way to let in more light. Also, we can kind of build off from here and have decks or stairs. It makes a big difference to have those. Up above here, I don't know if you can tell from here, we have a rain flap, and that has to fold in for when we travel, or else it will interfere with the closing of the upper window walls. Being able to add that flap to get the rain to just come out away from the side of the house has been really, really helpful in preventing water damage. Over here, we've got our intake to our water heater, our exhaust from our water heater. This is the plug that plugs in our whole house. It's just a simple 110 extension cord. The first place that we encounter when we enter the house is basically our whole bathroom / shower area. We have our vanity here on the entrance. We have a little wash sink here for brushing teeth. We have this medicine cabinet that Chloe and I built from salvage materials from the dump, essentially. Down here, I've got another additional little medicine cabinet for any other medicines that we've put together. We built the whole bathroom out of some salvaged wood from a job we did for a client. We had old barn boards, so we broke them apart and pieced together the whole bathroom setup here. We wanted an incinerating toilet, but it didn't fit, so we ended up building a custom composting toilet, which works just fine. And then to my left is our shower, which we put together from $20 in scrap material from a metal salvage yard. We pop riveted it together. We were kind of excited about making it look like an old 1940s airplane, and so that was our inspiration. We got this crock-pot lid for $1 at a thrift store. Up here I attached a computer fan with a brass trivet to vent the shower, which theoretically, when it's closed, will push the humid air out our little porthole window. It kind of works. It's very noisy. But in here we have our shower.
So our ladder moves and attaches to both sides. We can get up to both of our loft spaces using the same ladder. And then this is our guest bed / loft / couch area. When we have guests, they usually sleep up here. It's like a nice twin size bed-ish, but we also use it as a day bed, although to be perfectly honest, usually if we're coming upstairs, we just get into bed. If somebody's sleeping over, this actually leans forward, and you can throw the pillows from the couch onto there to give you just a little bit more space. Or if you have like a bag or something, you can also put that there. This actually lifts up. This part of the couch lifts up, and we have storage under here of like blankets and extra pillows and things like that. So on both sides, we have upper shelving, which is really awesome and helpful for our books. And it's really nice because they're all made out of plexi, so they let the light in and they don't make the space feel cramped, especially because they're covering windows. So it just helps that to keep it open and airy. When we move, we just take everything off the shelves and then they fold down. And then this is our little handle, which helps us to get in and out of the couch area without dying. And also when we're cleaning up here, it's pretty helpful too, to keep your balance. We could theoretically swing down like Tarzan, although that we have never done that before.
And then as we pan around, we enter my wing. We call these side expansions our wings because it kind of opens up like wings. This whole wall here is on hinges. So this whole setup will hinge into the room when we travel. Same with my desk area, hinges into the room. And then this outer wall here, which we have to kind of take these things apart because they'll get in the way when we fold up, but it'll slide in behind those sections. And then the roof comes down and the floor comes up, so that basically all of this is in the room when we travel. So in the town that we used to live in, at the town dump, they had a swap shed, which was basically where people put stuff that they wanted to get rid of but was too nice to throw away. And so one of our favorite things was to go to the swap shed and see what they had. So we found a lot of stuff there. This trunk I found there, and I lined it with cedar shelves. I was inspired by the steamer trunks in Joe versus Volcano, one of my favorite movies. Same thing down here. Got this from the swap shed, and it is my sweater storage / ottoman. Now that we put these casters on the bottom, it can roll around the room. I built these shelves at an angle so that I have, custom storage. And then I've I've got my tray here, so when I'm sitting and watching a movie, I can bust out a tray and put a drink down. So you notice a lot of things in the house are on wheels, and it just makes more room. We can move things around to get at things. If I'm getting dressed, I can wheel this right out of the way here. And now it's more of a functional space to get dressed when I'm not banging my head on this light. Flea market chair, put wheels on it, put a ring on it. Old watchmaker's desk that we got, and I custom fitted it into this area by trimming this edge down so that it wasn't such a hard, straight transition to the floor. And then I built shelves to store my shoes. And then I added this funky tray on top so that if I'm working here, I can have an expanded workspace. Just don't mind this trash that I found back there. So yeah, this is my desk. I love my desk. It's got so many funky little drawers and storage spaces for things that it's really useful. And I've got a nice little tray here to put a drink on if I'm working or have dinner set up there or whatever. What I was gonna say is this monitor is on an arm, and the reason for that is we can turn it this way. If we're cooking in the kitchen, we can also watch movies or shows at the same time, which makes cooking much more tolerable. I'm always tinkering, I'm always needing a tool, so I decided I need a little tool tray to just keep inside. I also have additional storage up here for various, office supplies and things, and our ladder is removable, so it can go anywhere in the house here, and I can just climb up here and access various things that I've put here a long time ago and have completely forgotten about. This is essentially my junk drawer.
So connected to Brandon's office is our kitchen, which we stepped down into. We used to have rabbits that lived in the tiny house. They lived under here, it's now food storage. But there's a little entrance and exit where they used to come in and out. So we stepped down into the kitchen, and then we have a nice little peninsula island here, which Brandon made like a butcher block countertop for. And then underneath that, we have storage for our appliances. Coming over here, we have our dish storage. So to make doing dishes as convenient as possible, we made this dish rack where we can wash our dishes and then place them directly onto the rack to dry. And that's also where they're stored. And then all these different pieces we collected from the thrift store. I think most of them are caddies for like the bathroom, for the shower. Just collected a bunch of different ones and then pieced them together in here. And then the copper sink was given to us by a friend. He had it just lying around in his basement. And then the countertop actually came from wood that was recycled. When we first bought the trailer, it came with some running boards on the side, which we thought were like all rotted and was nothing, so we threw it in the burn pile. And then as we continued building and then later ran out of wood and materials, we went back to the burn pile and pulled it out, and then Brandon started shaving it down, and it was like this beautiful hard mahogany type wood. And then over here we have our 1950s Magic Chef stove, which we got off of Craigslist. We usually keep oils and things like that on these different Lazy Susans, and all of them move so that we can access them as easily as possible. And these little Lazy Susans were just like serving trays that we found at the thrift store for a few bucks each, and then Brandon put a little turntable on the bottom of them. And then we have our fridge, which also has like the retro vibes, although this is from Home Depot. And then down here we have our Not So Lazy Susan, which is our nickname for it. And basically it's storage on the inside there, but then it also is a step, and we can access our shelves up here, or anything up high. And this is our like wine racks. It was originally supposed to be a wine rack, but we don't really drink, we hardly drink, so it's more of a sparkling water rack. And then my office is over this way. We generally work from home, so I tend to call it my office. So I have my desk / my vanity area. I'll like work from home here or write or read, and then I get ready here. This mirror was free, it was a gift, and then Brandon turned it into a cabinet for some of my beauty supplies in there. The desk itself, we found free off the side of the road, and then we brought it home and cut it up and reconfigured it to fit in this spot, and we actually expanded it. It was just like a straight desk, so we turned it into an L shape and then added some additional drawers from an old sewing machine table. Just move my chair out of the way a little bit, and then over here is my wardrobe area. And similar to Brandon, well, the same as Brandon's side, all of the walls move in, so when we travel, this whole section folds into the room like that. But I have a shoe rack, and I have a thrifted trunk, which on the inside has like socks and underwear and more shelving, cedar shelving. And these drawers actually came off of a side table. We built them into this spot. And then I have some hanging clothing storage over here. And then similar to Brandon, I also have storage up here. We call it stowage, like kind of like train car stowage. My light here I found at a junkyard for $5. It was actually the same metal junkyard that we found the metal for the shower. I just strung some fairy lights through it, but yeah, somebody was actually throwing this away, believe it or not. The ceiling is all custom done by Brandon and I. I had seen a picture in Architectural Digest many, many years ago when we were originally building the house on this beautiful lattice ceiling that somebody had done. And I really wanted to do it in the tiny house, but at the time we really didn't have the money or the time to put it together. So I had originally just painted on the ceiling. And then I want to say in like between 2020 and 2021, Brandon came up with the idea. He's like, I think I have a really good way to be able to do the lattice that's affordable. So he ended up drawing a template where the triangles get bigger at the top and smaller at the bottom, which sort of gives the illusion of more space. But we made a template and then we laid it on some plywood and then routed out the lattice that way, and then painted on separate pieces of plywood all of the diamonds, and the whole ceiling took probably like 4 or 5 months to do on and off. It was a lot. I think I got like nerve damage on my thumb from painting it because it's all hand painted.
Okay, so we're gonna head upstairs into our bedroom area, but before we do, I just wanted to point out this ladder. Like Chloe said, when we first bought the trailer and brought it home, it had like a wooden fence around it, and that wood we were able to salvage and make kind of various things over the years, and one of them was this nifty little ladder that I made, and basically it attaches to this black pipe that we put up everywhere around so that it can hook on and then we can climb up. So that's how we get up. Before we come upstairs, I just want to talk a little bit about this bed frame. We were driving down the road one day and we saw an old day bed on the side of the road. And it looked like it was put out there for free, but we weren't sure. So we grabbed it and brought it home and left a note saying, if we stole your day bed, please call us at this number and we'll bring it back. But it was for free, so we brought it home and we reconfigured it to this shape. So it was cut up and welded back together. And when we travel, the roof comes down. There's not all the space, all this comes down. So this would be in the way when we travel. So we pull them out and just leave them on the bed for when we travel. Ever since I was a kid, I saw Ebenezer Scrooge in Christmas Carol. I always wanted curtains to hide from ghosts in the middle of the night. And Chloe's parents actually found these some store somewhere, and we ended up splurging on them. They're really cool curtains. But they create a lot of adjustability. So if we have guests here and we want privacy, we can close it and it's really cozy. Or if we want the room to feel bigger, we can adjust them out and pin them back and it feels really large up here. It kind of turns the bed area and the living space into one larger area. So, welcome to our bed, or we call it the Coz Factory. Coziest place to be in the house. This is another space that has to transform when we travel. So basically, we'll remove all these pillows, usually drop them on the side there. And then this whole bed frame, this is the second part of the day bed, will fold down flat onto this area. We've got some fun various thrift finds that we found. We found this guy, and it has to hinge up like a lot of this stuff because it's in the way when the house closes up. So the curtains have to come down, this has to go and be pinned up, and then the house can come down. And usually when it's on the way down, we figure out what it is we forgot to put up because it gets in the way.
So we also have a book that came out earlier this year called Tales of a Not So Tiny House. And our book basically covers our entire story from beginning to end, like why we decided to do this and what our inspirations were. And it also chronicles us like finding things and repurposing them and making them.
We decided to create what we describe now as like a DIY bedtime story for adults. Just something that is just going to be fun for people to leaf through and sort of wake up the child creativity spirit inside. You know, that was our main motivation.
If you like this week's episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and check back soon because we have new unique home tours publishing all the time. And if you'd like to join our team and get access to members-only content and unique perks, make sure you click on the join button below.